When I talk to new officiants who are just starting out, when I'm coaching them, when I'm training them, I ask them a question. I say, what is the scariest thing about officiating a wedding? And the answer is unanimous. It's the vows. I'm Mark Allen Grollo. I am a full-time, booked-solid professional wedding officiant here in Toronto, and I want to talk about vows. Now, when I sit down with a couple for our ceremony planning session, I say to them, it comes to the part where I say, how would you like to say your vows? And they usually look at me like, I don't know. This is the part where we officiants have got to be prepared to hit them with a few options. Now, as far as I know, there are only 3 ways to do vows. Option number 1, the couple can write and read their own vows in the ceremony. Yes, I said write and read. So let's talk about the 3 things we need to consider when the couple is going to write and read their own vows. First of all, the reading part. I think it's way better to ask the couple to read their vows rather than memorize them and try to remember them under pressure when everybody's watching. Something bad is going to go down there. So I always say, write your vows out. And here are a couple of options when we write them out. We do not want the couple pulling a sweaty, crumpled wad of paper out of some orifice of their body up there. So when the couple opts to write their own vows, I say, email me your vows ahead of time. I will print them out, and when it comes time to that in the ceremony, I will hand them to you. I'll hand you a sheet of paper with your vows on it. You read, same thing, next person reads. And that way, it's nice and clean. The second option when it comes to the reading part is a lot of couples now are opting for a vow book. So it's a nice little lovely notebook, very stylized. Couples pick these up, I don't know where, but they actually write their vows in the book. We have the book off to the side or somebody's holding them. And when it comes time for them to say their vows, the book is brought, it's presented, I reached back and grab it, but the vows are written down in these lovely little books. So that's the first thing to consider. If they're writing their own vows, they need to physically have them on paper. How do we accomplish that? The second thing to consider when a couple is writing and reading their own vows is, what do they say? What are they going to write? And a lot of couples feel a lot of pressure around this. So just some general guidelines I give to couples. Let's not overthink this. For the preamble, you can say a couple of things you love about each other, although in my ceremonies, I like to ask them ahead of time what they love about each other, and then they can read those out. I read what they love about each other in the ceremony. But when it comes to vows, they might want to kind of get a little head of steam going by saying a couple of things that they love about the other person, but then really, vows are promises, and this is what I say to the couple. Making a vow is making a promise. So really, essentially, you are going to use a variation on the following 4 sentences. I vow to blah blah. I promise to XYZ. I commit to ABC. And I will always 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as long as I live. So basically, you're just telling the couple, fill in those blanks. I commit to, I promise to, I will always. And when I tell a couple that, typically they have no problem after that. They're off to the races. The third thing we need to consider when a couple is writing and reading their own vows is word count. So basically, we need the couple to agree on how long the vows are going to be. So they need to agree ahead of time before they start writing. Let's aim for 300 words or so. You probably don't want to go by a time count, because one might speak way slower than another. Basically, what we're trying to avoid is his vows taking 5 minutes and hers taking 30 seconds. We want them to be about the same length. Again, sometimes when they send me those vows so that I can print them on a sheet of paper, I cross-check that. I make sure they're the same length. But we don't want them sitting down for this Herculean task and writing a whole bunch of things that they don't need to write, only to cut it later. So if you tell them, agree on a word count, then they'll be the same length, and it'll sound nice and even. All right, the second way to say a vow, the second style is repeat after the officiant. Repeat after me, repeat after you, line by line. Most couples, I gotta say, the majority of couples in my experience opt for this one. They like it because they know I will be doing the talking, you will be doing the talking. So I, Steve, take you, Sally. I, Steve, take you, Sally, to be my wife, to be my wife. A couple of great things about this is, of course, they don't have the pressure of having to read, but it's nice because they actually get to say the words to each other. They actually speak the words with guidance. Now, the third option is just say I do. This is where the whole saying your I do's comes from, because in traditional weddings, a lot of the time you would have the officiant say everything and the couple just say I do. So that's what I tell the couple in our planning ceremony. Do you want me to just read you a big long question? You're going to be looking at each other, but I'll say, do you, Sally, take Steve to be, and to have, and to always, and to never, and to blah, 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 and I'll just go on. As long as they both shall live, something like that, contemporary language. I'll make sure they vet the vows, but then all Sally has to do in that case is say, I do. The number one reason why couples opt for this option is they know they'll be crying. They'll know they won't be able to get the words out. And so really, we have that frank discussion in our planning ceremony, in our planning session. Are you going to be crying? Do you think you can actually say the words? And if one half of the couple says, I think I'm going to be an emotional wreck, then let's opt with I do. Let's not make this any harder than we have to. The I do vows are just as effective as repeat after me line by line, and just as effective as, of course, writing and reading your own. So ask the couple, basically, know thyself. Now, a fourth and bonus option is a hybrid. I've done some weddings where they want to say a little bit and then they actually want to repeat, or they say, they write and read their own vows, but then they want me to ask them the question, and they do want to keep that traditional I do element. Hey, we're in a beautiful 21st century age of weddings here. Just about anything goes, usually with a couple of jurisdiction things, depending on the legal area that you're in. You might have to do a couple of things in the ceremony legally, but most things we can just do what's best for the couple, what they like. So hybrid vows are very common and quite popular nowadays as well. So there you have it, the 3 style of vows. Write and read your own, repeat after the officiant line by line, or just say I do. Now, you might have some questions about, yeah, sure, those are the styles, but what can you help me with what vows to say? What are the words? I have an amazing blog post about that where I give specific concrete examples that you can swipe, you can rip off, you can take them all for your own, many different styles to suit all kinds of occasions in a wedding, different styles of ceremony. So check that out in the comments below. Of course, there's going to be a link down there as well that takes you to a blog post about the content of this video. So if you want that fleshed out a little bit, just click on that link below. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel if you want to be a part of weekly video updates on how to officiate a wedding, and of course I'd love to see your comments below. Do you know of any other styles? How do these work for you? Which one is most popular in your experience? Let's get a conversation going in the comments. So there you go. Now if somebody asks you what's the scariest thing about officiating a wedding, hopefully your answer won't be vows, because you're good to go now. Thanks a lot, see you next time.